Hi guys, it's Cordelia. No glasses, no insane glare over my eyeballs this time. Um, I've been meaning to make a bunch of videos going into more depth about each of the symptoms of borderline personality disorder, but I'm being kind of a perfectionist about them and overthinking them. And then I was thinking about how when I did some group therapy several months ago, a lot of people asked about how to share their diagnosis with people in their lives. So I'm making this video about some of the things we talked about in that group, some tips and suggestions for um, for when you decide to share your diagnosis with people in your life. So first thing to remember is that this is your information and you don't have to tell anyone that you don't want to tell. Um, your workplace can't force you to disclose this information. This is your stuff and you don't have to tell anyone if you don't want to. Okay, so the next thing to think about, kind of on a person by person basis, is what you have to gain versus what you have to lose by telling this person. If it's your best friend, the person, or your mom or your sister or your cousin, whoever you're closest to, and you trust them with the not to tell your secrets, and you don't think they're gonna use the information against you somehow or judge you, and you know them to be open-minded when it comes to mental illness, then you probably have more to gain from sharing with them than you have to lose. An example from my life is that I have borderline personality disorder and I work with little kids. I would never share my diagnosis with the parents of the kids that I work with. I have nothing to gain from that. Our relationship is strictly professional. They don't need to know that. I only stand to lose things. There's a stigma surrounding BPD. People associate it with the movie Fatal Attraction. People might jump to conclusions and assume that I am not stable enough to work with kids, which is definitely not the case. So I have no reason to share that because the losses outweigh any potential gains. So think about loss versus gains. Um, Another thing to think about is that, you might just want to start with one person, your closest person or your most trusted person, and just tell them for now and worry about telling other people later. And that's fine. You don't have to sit down and have a big family meeting or go through and tell everyone you know as soon as you find out. It can be a process that takes a while, whatever you feel comfortable with, um, and whatever you think is the smartest thing to do. Another thing to take into consideration is that there will be people who don't understand and don't get it and don't accept it no matter what. I'm talking about people who are willfully ignorant and won't be educated. People who think that mental illness is something you can just snap out of and that will go away if you really want to get better, and that, is just all made up or all in your head. And this can be very painful to deal with if this is someone close to you. And it can be hard to accept, but um, but it's something that all we can really do in the long term is accept it. We can't teach everyone, and if it's someone not close to you, it's not difficult. Like I had a dentist who saw the list of prescriptions I was on and said, you're young, you have your life ahead of you, you need to smile and learn to be happy and get off all these meds. And it was easy for me to be like, yeah, bro, whatever. But if it's someone in your family, or if it's, someone that you've fallen in love with, then it's going to be way harder and way more painful to deal with. So think about that. Then also remember that there will be people who love you and care, but they still won't really understand. Um, they still might think things that are incorrect. For example, I have a family member in my extended family who knows about my diagnosis of major depressive disorder, but not borderline personality disorder. I don't think that there's anything to gain from her knowing about that. I think it would worry her and overwhelm her and make her sad that I'm going through it. I think it would be more than she could handle. Um, but she does understand depression, and I know she cares about me. And when she sees me, she usually asks if I have been able to get off my meds. And I could interpret that as like, she doesn't get it. Like, I can't just like get off my meds. Why is she pressuring me to get off my meds? Does she think it's so easy? But I know that for her, for me to be getting off my meds would mean that I was happy. And she just wants to know if I'm happy or not. So there will be people that have misconceptions and they don't really get it, but they care and they love you. And that's one thing we have to be patient with. So that's something to think about. Another thing is to be patient and go slowly. It can be easy to overwhelm people with too much information at once, to, you know, decide we want to share with someone and sit down and be like, this is my diagnosis, and, I've attempted suicide and I've been hospitalized, and I, have been self-harming for this many years, and some days I don't get out of bed, and it's hard for me to, take care of myself, and I've been on 57 different kinds of medication, and just on for someone who didn't even know anything was wrong. That can be a lot at once, and it can just be like, whoa, I didn't even know this person was sad, and now I, all this. So it can be better to tell people things little by little. And also when you're, I guess, educating someone about how to be there for you and how to help you, giving them a little bit at a time is much easier than slamming them with it all at once. Just, kind of as time goes, saying like, oh, it really helps me when you check up on me sometimes and ask how I've been feeling lately. Taking it slow, being patient. Another thing is to think about the ways that the particular person you're sharing with might be the most receptive to receiving information. If that person is really into reading, they might love to like read a book about the particular mental illness, whether it's like, a nonfiction book that's just, doctor laying out the facts, or whether it's, a memoir of someone's experience with it, or a bunch of articles about it. Some people might want to watch YouTube videos or listen to like a podcast of it or watch a movie about it. And some people just might want to talk to you about it and not hear from other sources. So kind of think about the way they might be most receptive to receiving information. So those are the things that we talked about. And definitely, if you have a therapist, this is a good thing to discuss with your therapist, because they may be able to give other suggestions and help you out with that. If anyone has any other tips or suggestions, feel free to comment or to contact me. I will put the information in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.